In today's video, we're going to talk about something that we don't do enough in the games industry right now, which is positivity in the games industry. In this video, I want to talk about 3 games that have been incredibly well received and I think are showing us the path forward to where the industry is going. Those 3 games are going to be Clair Obscur, Marathon, and Arc Riders. These games have not only been incredibly well received, but I think design-wise, animation, and ideas in general, I think they actually think outside the box, and this is exactly what we need right now in this industry. I'm excited for it. I hope you are too, and if so, let's get to it. Alright, let's start another video, and welcome. My name is Harvey Newman. I've been a games developer for 20 plus years, and I love to share my passion for games development in this channel. So if this is you, make sure you subscribe, like, and make sure to drop a comment after you watch the video. Now, before I get started, I want to highlight that I have courses and also coaching. If you're interested in more and becoming a games developer, definitely check out my website, learn.harveynewman.com, and join me. If you're not, if you just want to listen to the content, let's get to it.
Our Expedition 33.
So let's start with Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Now this game blew me away. Like, to me, it felt, when I saw it and I started playing it, that this was very much what Final Fantasy should have been if it was moving at the same rate as it used to back in the PS1 days. You guys remember that? Similar to what happens to Zelda games nowadays. Every Zelda game is a massive leap to the previous one, and it's still happening nowadays. This is why it's such a legendary game. But unfortunately, I think Final Fantasy fell in that trap that most AAA games fall nowadays, where if it's not broken, don't fix it. The best thing that I like about RPGs is the time that you take to think about your next move, and I think Final Fantasy has been moving away from that, where it's now action all the time, which feels more like an action game than an RPG, even though there's RPG elements to it. And I feel like what this game has done so well is kind of bring it all back and just put it in a container that actually makes sense, and this is why it's so well designed and so well received. Now, the fact that they allow the player to dodge, to parry, to counter in real time enhances that playability, and it basically removes that feeling of being stuck in place, just getting hit all the time, which was something that nobody enjoyed. So the artistic world building is absolutely fantastic. It's set in a fantasy world, and the game is really unique in the way of the world is set up. It reminds me a little bit, the closest thing is Lies of P, a game that came out also not long ago. But because they have these breathtaking landscapes and really amazing monsters, it just creates this very unique and enchanting realm for players to roam and for players to play. Now, expressive character movement. I feel like the combat animations for this game specifically are not only visually stunning, but also they convey deep emotional narratives, right? So this adds layers for the players to develop and have the deeper storytelling, a deeper connection with the game, which ultimately ends up being way better for you, the player, to connect with the main characters. And this is what we used to get, at least for me, when you played a Final Fantasy game for a long time, or when you play a Zelda game nowadays. By the time you finish that story, by the time you finish the gameplay, you feel almost like crying, you feel emotional, you feel like you've been through a journey, you don't want to leave that world. And I think this is what ultimately the developers of this game are doing with this game, and using animation as a main piece of this helps you a ton. Now, another bit that I found that is really interesting is dynamic interactions that the players have with the environment. This is a layer that a lot of developers, especially on an RPG, a game that is really long, don't pay attention to or don't have time to actually spend time to. But here, the animation seamlessly integrates with the environment and enhances the realism of the game, but also the depth of the game world, and allows you to basically want to explore the world more, ultimately, which is great. Now, the biggest thing that I enjoy about this game is that it was developed by about 30 people, and mostly ex-Ubisoft developers. They got together, they kind of created a game which was absolutely amazing. And what I think this means for the games world is that it sends a notice to everybody that you can do a lot with a smaller team and have a game that actually has a lot of quality of a AAA caliber with a smaller team, with a much smaller time span for you to publish a specific game. Major kudos to the studio, Kepler Interactive, and everybody involved in making this game. And now that we had Split Fiction coming from Hazelight, which is also a AA studio, I think this becomes another contender for Game of the Year. This year, we're going to be spoiled at the Game Awards later this year, and I cannot wait for that. Now, let's talk about Marathon. Marathon, developed by Bungie, which is obviously a AAA developer, and I've been talking about AA developers, indie developers, in the most part is because of my studio, Proxima, that we consider ourselves more of a AA developer, and I think I'm excited about where that goes. But I have to give kudos to Bungie, because they are a AAA developer that, even though they've been publishing Destiny for many years, I think they realized they need to reformulate things internally and come up with another IP, something fresh that basically shuffle things around and basically makes the players feel a different thing, be in a different world, and just have something fresh. I think we all need something fresh from time to time, and I think Marathon, the presentation of the game, how it looks, how it plays, all of it feels very much like a fresh take from Bungie on how they actually perceive the world. Now, the game has been slightly controversial, but I do think that there's a lot of positives from this game, and knowing Bungie, knowing that they've been developing Destiny for like 15 years, I think at this point, they know how to maintain a game and improve a game over time. So this is what excites me about Marathon. Now, this game was based off a cult classic that Bungie first had, so they're just reimagining the world, which is really cool, but I love the style, the uniqueness of it all, the minimalism. I haven't seen anything quite like it, and this is the thing that gets me the most excited. And I think that all of it is to do with gameplay readability, which goes back to the design of the game, which is something that I'm excited about, because it ensures that every visual element in the world serves a purpose for the player, and this ultimately makes it much more of a distilled experience that is very clear for the player. And Marathon is exciting because they almost went back to the roots of what makes a game, first-person game, so exciting, and everything is so minimal because the design of the game is like that it basically lends itself to being very much like the old school games. So this is what I took from it and what I took from the visual design, which is really cool. Fingers crossed it doesn't actually become extremely complex over time, but for now at least, I feel like they pull it off incredibly well. Now, when it comes to the animation excellent part of this game, I think that the precision and motion is incredibly well thought out. The controls feel very precise. The sense of movement, which is something that they perfected with Destiny, is definitely here. You can tell it's a Bungie game when it comes to the movement in first person, which is great. Animations are meticulously crafted, just like Bungie does in every single drop that they do. Obviously, it's slightly controversial. Some people say it could be better because Call of Duty has better animations, but it really depends on the type of game that you're trying to do and the amount of animations that you're trying to make. Destiny and Call of Duty are very different games. Now, why this is exciting to me the most is because I think that Marathon sets an example on how AAA studios can actually look at something or an IP that they are trying to do, go all in, and still innovate and come through with something exciting, which is something that, if you're anything like me, you're starting to wonder if AAA studios can still make original titles, right? There's glimpses of it every so often. Some games come out and you think, wow, it's amazing. Spider-Man, Insomniac is one example. God of War from Sony Santa Monica is another example. But they're few and far between. And the more it goes this way, the more it feels like the AAA industry is dying, which I don't think is true, but it feels that way because there's no originality. Now, I think Bungie is setting up a path, a really obvious and clear path, that there is room for players to kind of like be excited about a new AAA title that has a lot of originality, which is great. Now, let's talk about the most exciting one out of the three, which is Arc Riders.
Where'd you get that jacket? I'd kill for that.
Now, Arc Riders was developed by Embark Studios, which is basically an amalgamation of developers from all over the world, but its foundations is basically ex-DICE developers, a lot of them that I worked with over the years, were in Battlefront 2 and also in Battlefield 5, and they have done an amazing job on a game that already came out called The Finals that people are playing, and it has a high retention. And in today's environment where first-person games have low retention of players, it's a high task and super awesome that they've done it. And now they released the first playable of a game called Arc Riders, which is in third person. So it has both elements of player versus player and also elements of player versus environment, and all of it together comes in together beautifully. It's incredibly polished. You can tell that it was made by AAA developers with that AA DNA, and the connected gameplay is incredibly appealing to me, at least. The game offers this dynamic playground with responsive traversal systems, including grapples, dashes, slides on ramps. And then one of the best things that it has is team dynamic, but also encourages players to work together in order to overcome challenges that the world throws at you. And the challenges can go from really small little spider running around that you can shoot easily to a massive mother spider that takes like a bunch of people to actually kill it. So I think that the highs and the lows are incredibly high and low, which means that you can enjoy the game at your own pace, but you also can have lots of action. And I can see a time and a place where this game comes out that has lots of DLC and lots of updates and lots of different experiences. And what this game kind of like gave me the feeling of the most is Battlefront 2, because this game actually felt very much like what we wanted to do in a lot of the ways. And it's a shame to actually see it die on Battlefront 2, but also a joy to see it back in action here in a much bigger way, in a much more fulfilling way. At least that's how I feel about the game. Now, when it comes to animation excellence, I have to shout out the cinematic combat that they have. That's kind of how I see it. All the animations have ins and outs and transitions, and the animation team is really, really talented. I know of at least the two animation directors at Embark. I know they worked with me previously at DICE, and they are incredibly talented, and they have a really good eye for detail. So I'm not surprised that the animations are so detailed, and you can do a bunch of things like, you can walk forward, look forward, you can walk backwards while looking forwards. There's a bunch of different things you can do. You can transition from one state to another really seamlessly, and there's a level of polish that you can tell that it's taking years for the team to do, and this is really exciting to me as an animation director to see it come into life, because I think more games need this, and I think this is going to set a benchmark to what a game of this level, which I think is more on the AAA level, can actually achieve and look like on an engine like Unreal Engine. Now, the other thing that I think that animation and tech comes together in this game beautifully is this environmental integration, where they have animations adapt to the game's physics and terrain and enhances the immersion and realism of the game. Everything they actually do when it comes to spiders running around, when it comes to enemies attacking you, when it comes to little drones attacking you, feels natural, feels good, feels like it was meant to be, doesn't feel tacky, and the level of difficulty, you can definitely tell it ramps up depending on the enemy. So all of these things make for a very livable, breathable world that you want to be a part of. It is not just basically a barren world with nothing moving except for other humans that you can shoot at, like most games. But now you have different things attacking you, things that surprise you, things that most likely are going to be updated over time, that they're going to add new animations. So both the physics, the animations, the engine, the lighting, everything is coming together beautifully in this game, which then makes for a really nice package that is incredibly polished. And a lot of people, once again, are calling this one of the game of the year, and this adds to the list of things that we're going to expect later this year in Game of the Year awards, which is going to be great. We're going to be so spoiled. It's going to be so good. Now, why is this exciting to me? This is exciting to me because it showcases that a brand new studio like Embark, relatively speaking, in comparison to others, can actually push boundaries, but can also work in multi-genre games and make them as polished as possible so others can actually take notice. And when it comes to multiplayer experiences, I think Embark once again is now at the forefront. It used to be DICE with Battlefield, and let's see what they do with the new Battlefield. But when it comes to pushing boundaries about multiplayer experiences and what you can expect on the next Battlefield, I think you should now look at Embark to see what you can expect for multiplayer experiences, because that DNA is definitely there, and I think they are pushing boundaries in many ways. And you can see it because this world, this physics, how characters interact with each other, how these elements kind of come together, the destructibility of the world, of the finals, and also of the arc riders, all becomes like part of working and playing mostly on the server side, which is something that we all wanted to do instead of working on the client side, for those that know, and it becomes a seamless experience. Now, to finalize this, I want to actually mention one last thing, because I think these 3 games basically condense what I'm trying to say in this video about the excitement of where the industry is going. And if you look right now at the top 10 games in the Metacritic that have been released this year, you'll realize that none of them is actually a AAA game. They are all indie or AA games. So you have Split Fiction, and then you have Clair Obscur, but you also have small indie games that have 90+ ratings on Metacritic. And I think this shift kind of marks a new way of you to appreciate games that basically focuses on originality, but also focuses on innovation. And those things have historically been on smaller studios for sure, but I think it's now sipping into the more AAA, AA studios such as Bungie and also Embark. And I think those things ultimately, in my opinion, are going to be the things that are going to make the industry be revived, are going to make the industry better, and are going to get us into a better position. GTA still needs to release. I feel like that's going to be another big staple in the games industry when it comes to where we are heading as a games industry. But I do think that these games that come from smaller independent or AA developers, they have big ambitions and big ideas, are going to be very much like the direction that we all need to follow. And it is going to be great to see more of these come out as the year develops. So, to conclude, the release of games like Clair Obscur, Marathon, and also Arc Riders, I think underscores a transformative period in the games industry. As indie and AA studios continue to deliver amazing games that players absolutely love, they are redefining the standards of the games industry by building groundbreaking experiences that we haven't seen before, and makes everybody feel incredibly excited about it. Now, this evolution is not just exciting, I think it's essential for the continued growth and diversification of the games industry. Now, drop a comment down below and let me know if you played either Clair Obscur, Marathon, or Arc Riders. Let me know what you think. Also, let me know what you think about where the industry is going, and if you think that this is positivity that comes towards the direction of where we should be going, or if you think it's just a blip in a way that things are going to get worse before they get better. Really interesting to know what you guys think, and that's all I had for you guys today. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do, and until the next video, stay well, stay safe, peace. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you super enjoyed it, leave a super thanks. It's like leaving a little tip, and it directly supports the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can continue to see my videos and get your weekly dose of betterment.